we've got a problem in the shop at the moment where there's a bunch of tools and things just sitting on the floor. They don't have a place to go. It's not organized well at all. Today, we're going to start organizing with this welder and make a welding cart. To do that, we've got 16 gauge, 1-inch square tubing, and some other stuff here, but that's the main frame of it. It's going to be that square tubing. Over here, got some wheels. We're going to make a cart, man. Making a cart. Here's our basic cart design. The bottom one is going to be 32 inches long. We're going to have a big fixed wheel on the back here, 2 wheels, and then 2 on the front here that swivel on casters. I'm going to cut these at 45, so I need to set my saw up for 45. And with these all cut out, now it's time to clean up the edges and think about welding. Alright, so we've got the bottom part done. This is the one that was 32 inches all the way across here. I'm brazing these corners, man. I'm brazing this whole cart because I love the color contrast here. And I'm going to leave it raw and just clear coat it. So next, I'm going to put the wheels on it. Alright, so here are the wheels I'm using. The basic concept here is that we're going to put these wheels up front. This wheel goes in the back. So I have to make sure these are at the same height, and so it involves making a little bracket of some kind that I can then bolt this guy onto. So that means I need to measure the height of this guy, 5 inches. From the center of this thing down is like 4 inches, so I need like 1 inch. So when I go to mount this thing, I'm gonna need to mount it from this point here, 1 inch down from there is where my center hole should be for this thing to mount. So it should sit something like that. In order to make my bracket, I've got 1/8 inch thick flat bar. So I just want 2 inches over from the end. My little speed square here. So to make this, I welded the 2 pieces of 1/8 inch plate together, and now I'm gonna go ahead and, now that it's complete, my shape is complete, I'm gonna go ahead and grind off these welds, and then these 2 pieces will come apart and I'll have 2 separate but identical pieces. Alright, then we've still, on our wheel connection part here, we've still got these 2 main pieces here, which I need to drill a hole in exactly 1 inch down. Slap this guy in here. We'll mark it at 1 inch. I want this thing to be approximately centered, so I want to mark it at 2 inches. That's my mark right there. That's where we want to actually be. Alright, so now I'm just trying to fit these things up on the end. I want this guy, a little fancy piece here. I want this to go on the very end like that. And then I want the other piece to go on like that. And then our wheel will bolt in right here and be supported by this brace over here. I've got everything shined up on the edges here where it's going to weld in here. I need to shine up these edges right here. Now I'm just using a flap disc to do this, which is basically sandpaper on a wheel here, but a 36 grit flap disc, and that cleans this up real nice and easy and quick. All right, now a lot of people will just weld these straight on here, and some people argue that you should make a plate so you can bolt them on and off so that if you ever need to put a new wheel on, it's easy to swap it out. Well, the thing is, if you can weld, it's easy to just, I'm gonna put a couple tacks on here, some longer tacks, and then if you can weld, you can just come in, grind those tacks off, and put on a new wheel. It's really not that big a deal. So I'm gonna weld it right on. Actually, I'm gonna braze this one on. Yeah. Look at that. We finally wheel it around and it's level. Oh, isn't that brilliant? This upright goes on next. Alright, so we've got our cart, got our upright on the cart done. Now we need to add some shelves. I got shelf number 1 prepped out right here. So I'm planning on having it 12 inches from here to the bottom. It's coming, man. It's coming along. Next shelf is basically going to be up here at the very, very top. This is our cart. So far, I've gone to the store, gotten some rebar to put the little supports on the front part here. I'm going to use rebar for that. And I went to the Junkyard and ended up with these little U-clamps here. These are off of leaf springs off a truck. My next step on this thing, I got to do the floor. On the bottom part here is going to be the storage part, and we've got this piece of 18 gauge sheet metal over there, and I'm going to use that on the bottom to make a floor. I've got 1 inch by 1 inch by 18 gauge angle iron, and I think I'm going to use that to do a bar in the middle there and a bar at the end to help support the floor part of it. This one I want to sit recessed down in. I don't want this lip to be here, so I want it to sit down so that this lip is below or equal with, level with this surface of the rail here. So in order to do that, I'm gonna put this guy in here, and then we're going to mark out our edges here where it hits up with this rail, and then we'll cut those, cut out a little square there. and allow this thing to recess down. Got these legs in, and now we can hold some weight on here, man. Originally wanted to have a cantilever design where there'd be just open space through here, but I realized doing some math that it was not going to work out that way with the steel I was using. In order to make it as light as possible, it's already getting heavy enough. I'm just putting in these little extra braces here. They add a little bit of extra visual interest to the front of it. They're narrow and skinny. They shouldn't get in the way of anything too much, and they increase the strength dramatically on this, so, and the rigidity of everything. So this is a good improvement, I think, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the other ones up here. All right, I think I'm getting somewhere here. I've got this piece here cut out so that it sits on the back here and is recessed down a little bit so that it's completely flat all the way around with these bars here. And these guys do the same thing. They're recessed down, and I've curved the edge right here. It's also recessed back a little bit from the edge. All right, so because the welder itself is a little bit over 11.5 inches wide, I've got this thing at 11.75 inches wide set here, which should give me just a little bit of play on the sides. Slide it in nice and easy, but it'll keep it pretty tight so it's not wobbling around. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for. I'm gonna tack these corners right here. All right, so we got it mocked up, and now I just have to weld it in place. All right, so on the back of the cart is where I'm planning on storing the bottles for the welder. The argon for the TIG, and maybe in the future we'll have a bottle for the MIG as well on the back here. So in order to do that, on the bottom I want a place where they just slot right down in, and they're nice and steady all on their own just by sitting in the bottom here. And then I'm going to go ahead and strap them additionally further up on the cart. The cart over on its side. I've got the wheels, the back wheels off. Throw this guy on here. Boom. Alright, and then we're going to go back to the brazing rod and braze this thing on here, here. Alright, so there we have it. I just did one tack on the side here like that. Little long tack. Nothing else on the side here. And then just the one tack up there. I did that on both sides, and we're gonna see what happens with this. All right, so with the bottom part here done, the little box for the bottle, that done, I'm now working on a little support brace up here that the bottle will then brace against and be strapped to. So I'm gonna go ahead and just a piece of angle iron. So with this guy welded in now, go ahead and add in this. This is the actual backing plate that goes on this side. And this brace is just to support this guy. And then off of this, we're gonna build some brackets to actually hold bottles. All right, now it's time to roll this thing over and start loading the actual welder onto this thing so we can then start figuring out where all the little cables and stuff lie and add on my little hangers and stuff for the cables. Alright, I've also got this organizer thing like this that I'm going to keep all the consumables and stuff for the torches in here, and want that to sit on the bottom like that. Alright, that goes like that. A little piece of Velcro, and then a torch. Alright, so we welded on the wrench on the side here. There's basically going to be the storage place for our negative wire clamp, and it's going to be vulnerable over here because, you know, it'll take impacts from the sides and stuff. Car tips over, it'll go right on that thing and that sort of thing. So I want to make sure it's strong, and I think that'll work. We've got a brace over on this side that consists of two separate pieces of 1/4-inch rod. We've got this one right here that I welded on first, was this piece right here. And I've got a secondary one back here. And those are both, well, I shouldn't say welded, but they're all brazed. And those are brazed together right here and here. And that triangulates this section right in here and makes for additional strength. And so I've got one on each side. I've got that one and this one over here, exactly the same. And then in the middle, we've got just one single hoop. And these are different lengths. These guys on the sides are longer than the one in the middle. And there's a reason for that. So I go ahead and load this guy in here. And it slots back and it fits in there perfectly. But then I can loop loop this guy through here. So with one cylinder, I can strap it in just like this. And this thing is in here super solid. Or you could do two of them this way. I don't have another cylinder to demonstrate entirely. But you could do two of them in there like that. It's got a little bit of an extra flair here to make it, just for design purposes, so it looks nicer. I got it set at like 35 degrees. So if I line this thing up on the bottom, this is at 35. This tilts back at the 35-degree angle, and that should tilt this thing out just like that. So it tilts up just a little bit. All right, there. Now it should sit on there about like that. I'm gonna go ahead and round this guy down here, and we'll round these guys over here, and then we should have something worth welding on there. Locking down the little wheels here.